On a cold, windy, not wet yet night, but it's getting there. It's time for the BEBC BS Podcast. Take two. This is Wednesday.
Take two.
And we're just now getting this done. Because somebody messed up take one.
There was just some slight unavoidable technical difficulties.
And we're looking at him.
Without any finger pointing.
I don't know what happened.
Raise your hand if you want to point.
But something happened. And so we're going to try this again. And we're going to have some different topics tonight because we can do that. Because
we don't remember what we talked about before.
I don't. It was way beyond my...
But our special guest star was gracious enough. Thank you so much for coming back. Really appreciate it.
For those of you that don't know, the gentleman to my left, a born resident of New Hampshire?
Actually, I was born in Pennsylvania, then spent most of my childhood between Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
All right. I was giving you credit for the only person I've ever known in New Hampshire, but used to live in New Hampshire, Plano East graduate, sports editor for
East.
Star Local Media. Yep,
Star Local Media.
The entire kit and caboodle.
He's the man. Mr. Matt Welch is with us tonight again. Yay. And we had this conversation the other night of how this is podcast number 38, and we've been trying to get you on for 37 of them. So thanks for coming back after we screwed it up. So we really appreciate it.
I don't want to rule out that what happened Saturday was just karma for it taking so long for me to get on this podcast. So hopefully all that bad juju is out of the way. And,
yeah. See, he's not using big words this time.
Thank you.
He's down to juju.
We can dumbing it down, baby.
We can talk some Allen Eagles, some District 9 6A football.
That's it.
Final week of the regular season.
Yes, it is. But before we get there, we got to do our thing. This is
38.
podcast 38.
Yeah.
You didn't peek, did you?
Did you research this?
Huh?
Did you research?
I did research and I changed it because last week we did 2012 or Saturday, which y'all don't get to see. But this week we're going to do 2013, number 38. He was a backup defensive back. He was a junior that year. And if anybody gets this, I'm giving you $20. Don't look it up.
I won't answer, but I am going to look it up.
I don't even know.
I got nothing.
I don't.
2013.
Yes.
I got nothing.
Anybody?
I bet he was short.
He was short. I remember looking at his stats.
Short.
See what Matt comes up with. I'll let you pronounce his name. His first name's D.
Schneider?
Ogedy. D. Ogedy?
Oh, yeah.
OGIDI. Wow, I have no idea where to go with that. Wow.
Oh.
No.
Okay, I remember that last name.
Well, D, you stumped everybody here, so congrats.
Good job.
Man.
You get the $20.
I remember seeing his subscription request come through. So yeah, he's watching.
Current.
Yeah, D, if you watch these and you want your $20, look us up.
The first name that sprung to mind was actually number 39 on that roster, this name was a popular one around the office because when somebody got a look at the Allen roster and saw this name, Brunzel Waxter, an impressive name.
I don't even remember that person.
Number 39.
Wow. I guess when you get in those upper
Just one
30s.
higher than D. Ogedy.
Brunzel. How do you spell Brunzel?
Brunzil.
Holy moly.
Yes, sir.
Shows you how much we don't know.
Surely the
speaking
only
of names,
Brunzel Waxter in any phone book in America.
Yeah.
Speaking of names, a football name. I mean, what better football name than your former coach over there at Plano East, Johnny Ringo?
That's right.
Johnny Ringo's going for 2.
That $1 million smile.
Yeah.
Johnny Ringo.
Well, last Friday night was the Prosper Allen game for all the marbles, District 9 6A.
Are we calling that a game?
Well, we wanted to, and we thought it might be.
It
didn't get the hype that Allen Plano East did, but you know, Prosper was coming in at 7-1. Their only loss being to East in a kind of competitive game.
Yeah, East put it on them pretty early.
Yeah.
And that was really the first time Prosper had been punched in the mouth. And Prosper got it together in the second half, but that's just a team that's just not really built to play for.
And that was really early, wasn't it?
That was the second week of, I think, week 5.
Okay.
Second week of district.
Yeah, second week of district. Yeah.
And so the thing we've been complaining about for a couple weeks now, the slow start, wasn't the case this week.
No.
And
highest scoring first quarter of the season.
That's why Matt's here, because Matt knows all this stuff that we don't know because we don't keep track of it all. But 19 points in the first quarter, including a safety.
Yep.
And a pretty dominant first quarter.
Yeah.
When you look at both offense and defense.
Just march right down the field. Do you remember how long that first drive took? It was like a 2.5, 3 minute drive.
Yeah, they scored with 9:44 left in the first quarter.
So
they
just marched it right down.
Well, and we even talked about, too, Prosper started the game with an onside kick.
Well, sort of.
It went 20 yards.
It was supposed to be an onside kick.
It didn't get the big hop.
No, he got a line drive bullet going through
Out of bounds.
I said if you feel like you're an underdog, which Prosper most undoubtedly was, if you're going to come out, try to catch Allen by surprise, try to give yourself some early energy, a little bit of momentum to start, then why not? Why not take that chance? What do you have to lose, really?
Don't leave any bullets in the gun.
There you go.
If it would have been successful, it would have been great.
Yeah, they would have.
Smartest move of the first couple minutes.
It may have not made any difference based upon how Allen's defense was playing, but at least they'd have had their fans up to cheer about initially. So Allen comes out, they score.
It was a drive where you kind of had the inkling right from the get-go that Allen had a very decided advantage in the trenches, especially with their offensive line and just the job that they did blowing Prosper off the ball. I mean, just within those first few drives, the number of carries where an Allen ball carrier was getting, to the second, third level with ease. There was one, I remember a sweep on their second drive right near midfield where Grant Robinson got 15 yards downfield before someone even laid a fingertip on him. It was just that kind of night, and Allen was able to run the ball essentially at will, whether it was by design or Tisdale just keeping it and scrambling. I mean, they just did whatever they wanted on the ground, and it resulted in perhaps, one of the better offensive halves of football that Allen's had in a long time. Just saying something.
Yeah. Year after year, Coach Carter does an incredible job developing those kids and turning them into what they are.
The offensive line makes a unit out of them.
Yeah, I mean, he's year after year after year. It's just unbelievable.
When was the last time you could think back going, Allen's offensive line? Really, if at least for the six of us, and Matt can chime in here too, if we have criticism of any part of the team, it's rarely the offensive line, if at all.
That's probably, if you just look at the extent of this Allen dynasty, if you want to call it that, it's probably been, as far as just positional groups go, maybe the most consistent from year to year, the most consistently dominant positional group in Allen.
Yeah.
Has been the offensive line, and actually, it's good that we're doing this on Wednesday versus earlier because I talked with Coach Gamble a little bit earlier in the week, just for a story previewing the game later this week, and just wanted to get his feedback on the offensive line because, like a lot of coaches, will always want to quickly heap praise on the O line because when you're watching the game and you're following the ball and the running backs, the quarterbacks, the skill guys get a lot of the pub. Offensive line, does all that dirty work. So Coach Gamble though had some very, very high praise for Allen's offensive line. So much so as I've got the quote right in front of me. That might have been one of the best in the history of Allen.
Wow.
When you talk about the total yardage and the number of big plays, it's one of the great performances by an offensive line at Allen High School. So,
wow.
That was no
great.
small,
He was down in
no
Waco during
praise.
2013, but,
And they lost before they got to play us.
Yeah.
And he made sure to single out, not just the players, but Coach Carter, who you mentioned, and then Preston Gill as well. As far as just helping just orchestrate that, just what is continually, like I just said, maybe the most consistently dominant positional group at Allen High School.
Speaking of Coach Carter, and I know we need to move on, but I've often wondered how many college programs have come calling on him to maybe look. And I know with his boys, and that was not going to happen.
Right.
But after they graduated, I thought there may be a chance he moves on. But they also go to our church, and it made me think his wife Melinda's like, "You ain't moving." So we didn't have any worries about that.
Too steep in the community.
I'm sure they had to come calling though.
I would think so.
Many,
several of the coaches.
If you look at all, and you go back and you can think of a lot of them, all the offensive linemen that have gone on to play D1 ball in the last 10 years out of Allen.
Mm-hmm.
J.D. Walton in the NFL.
Cedric Boyhe.
And now all the NFL guys.
Little will be there next year.
Bobby Evans
will be there next year.
Well, and one of the things that you'll notice if you go back into the office is there, Corey Kane has got the wall of little helmets.
Yep.
The little small helmets of all the kids that kind of go off to the college ranks.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They put a lot of kids through that program and into colleges. I know there may be some programs that do more with more talent, but they do amazing things with the talent that they end up getting.
Yeah, just like last Saturday on Twitter, it just popped up, Kenny Oian, he scored a touchdown for Holy Cross. And I forgot that's where he went. You know,
Right.
he's at even places like that.
I mean, he was a good receiver for us, but he was not one of the featured receivers. And
there he is playing, you know, at Holy Cross. You know, making plays.
Holy cow.
Number 8.
You want to talk
Living the dream.
Holy cow at Holy Cross.
Holy cow.
the guy that his son was was Aaron Frost. He never started a game at Allen. Pretty much only got in as offensive lineman during mop-ups, and he went to one of the better junior colleges around. It wasn't Trinity, but it was another pretty good junior college in the area, just off his practice
technique.
Yeah, they film practices and they show a lot of that highlight. And because I talked to his dad, and he goes, "Yeah," he said, from that right alone got him recruited. Yeah. So that's crazy.
Well, like you said, it was pretty obvious the other night, Friday night, really quickly. And I think I tweeted it either in the second drive or the third drive. This is really easy, or to quote Kyler Murray,
that's easy.
It's easy because it was just, like you say, quite obvious that Allen did have the upper hand in the trenches. Actually, on both sides of the ball, but offense, when I'm talking offense, scoring at will. They put up 40 in the first half, and for all intents and purposes, that game was over at halftime.
447 yards of offense in one half, which, like I said, I went back through to check because that sounds like an entire game's worth of yardage. Yeah. And it's actually exceeded the number of total yards that Allen put up in their games early on in the season against Mesquite Horn, against Utah East. If you want to count the Capel game, even though it was shortened by rain, and then it was higher than their total output against Jesuits. So that's 4 games where Allen was able to outdo that entire production in one half.
And I wouldn't have, and personally for me, I wouldn't have seen that happening against Prosper.
Yeah, no, because Prosper's got a capable team. It's not a team that just came in just in a rut, just with just getting gashed by everybody left and right. But
on the offense, on the defense side, they weren't that big, but you still don't expect them. I mean, all you got to go on is what they've done so far, and they only gave up 26 to East. So you think, okay.
And that was something that Prosper's head coach Brandon Schmidt mentioned right afterwards, and he was heaping praise on Allen's offensive line as well. And mentioned, our D line has talent, but we're just not that big. And against those road graders at Allen, that's just it's just a tough equation to overcome.
Road graders.
What you call it, road graders?
Road graders. So put your way back hat on, just real quick. I think you and I had a lengthy conversation back when we were doing the feed the staff.
That's right.
At the high school, and we were going through the district, and I guess impressions of Prosper from then to now. What
it was like, Prosper was a huge question mark coming into the season, because not just because they're making the jump to 6A and they hadn't played. It's not like they scheduled 6A programs in their non-district in the past, so it was a question as to how they would handle not just playing at the 6A level, but just the consistent week in, week out of just having to play a school that is right on par. Whereas the district they were in beforehand, 14-5A, a lot of those games were kind of like what you see with Allen, where a lot of those games were over by halftime. Just a big fish in a little pond, so to speak. And then they were replacing the district MVP at running back, a kid named Caleb Adams. So they were having to convert this kid, Wayne Anderson. Wayne Anderson was a defensive back that actually projects as a cornerback at the college level, but he was taking over a role that was like kind of the heartbeat of their offense, so question marks there. Their defense graduated. I want to say that defense had 10 kids that made the all-district team last year. So, they just lost a ton of talent on that end. They were really young on that side of the ball, so they were just more of a question mark than anything. I know a lot of the preseason publications had them as like a top 3, as a playoff team in the district.
Right.
And, if they were able to acclimate, the talent was certainly there, but it was just kind of unproven. So that was kind of where our read was. Like, I actually think at the start of the year we had them just outside of the playoffs, because I think we were a bit higher on Plano East than others, but we were also buying into the Jesuit hype, and that turned out to be a bit of a red flag. But that's kind of where we're at on Prosper.
Well, Prosper is going to. Their freshman team beat our freshman team, and our freshman team hadn't lost, and so there's they're going to be competitive. No
there's
doubt
development going on.
Yeah, my son is a freshman. He said that their quarterback would get the ball and just run and just bulldoze everybody.
Oh, really?
Just so that'll be something to look forward to.
Some of those smaller schools they have up years and down years, but I bet they'll be.
Well, the question is, will they still be 6A?
Because they're building another.
I don't know when the exact date is, but they do have a second high school.
So I don't know. Probably not next year, but it'll be the year after.
So they'll definitely drop back down to 5A, but it may not be too much longer before they're right back up in 6A.
It's a growing area up there. So, but good for them for sticking their necks out here in this district, because it's. And they I think at the end of the day, if you would ask the coach, okay, if the let's just say they play Plano this week, and if they beat Plano, they end up in district with 2 losses. And you would have asked the coach at the beginning of the year, would you be happy with the 2-loss district play? I'm sure he'd be.
If you get
thrilled.
second place in this district with the Plano schools and Allen schools in your very first year in 6A, that is a tremendous success.
Yes.
I think they have the potential to go a couple of rounds in deep into the playoffs. I mean, I see those. You know, they have the talent. That's for sure.
I mean, just looking at the playoff brackets in Division II, the 2 playoff teams over in District 10 6A are going to be Naaman Forest and Wiley. Prosper played Naaman Forest in their season opener, and they won something like 41-7, something like that.
Yeah.
So
it bodes well.
Interesting. They could fall back on that again. That's always fun when you play a team that you've already played.
Not always fun.
Well, that's
A 5-5.
Well, and it was interesting, the game, because they have plenty of players individually that made big plays. You know, I mean, I can remember, don't remember the number, 14 maybe, the one linebacker that blitzed and just nailed Grant. I mean, there were several players that made great individual plays, but just as a whole, they couldn't.
Well, the one thing Allen did very well, and you mentioned his name, you know, they rotated around Wayne Anderson.
Yeah.
They go, as Wayne goes, they go, and, you know, what was it, at halftime they had 2 yards rushing and he was negative?
Yeah, something
Wayne
like
didn't.
that. I know at the end of the first quarter it was -7.
Yeah.
Coach Gamble said afterwards that I believe the exact number was 46% of their offense went through Wayne Anderson. So obviously he was at the forefront of the scouting report, and as you'd expect, it's kind of the head of the snake, so to speak.
That's the one thing I've noticed about Allen over the years. If a team comes in and they're, I'm not going to say one-dimensional, but if they have one star player, they're very good at taking that player out.
E.J. Smith.
Yeah, beat us another way.
Yeah.
And it's hard for other teams to do because they do rely so much on one individual. So, which is one of the things I love about Allen is you never know from week to week who's it going to be.
Yep.
You know, and it's
And
always
sometimes there's not enough footballs to go around.
well, there's. I think we all agree with that. Yeah. We'll get into that here in a minute, but defense stepped up, played great. I mean, they ended up with 7 first downs. I mean, anytime you hold a team to 7 first downs in a whole game.
And Mark, what has nobody been able to do against Allen?
And I don't know why they keep trying, but they can't run east-west.
You can't go east-west against
can't.
Allen and
And
get around the corner.
It's going to be interesting to see as they get in the playoffs and play, I'll call them better teams, hopefully.
Might take a few rounds.
If they continue to try to do it, because no one's been able to do it. I mean, East scored 36 points, but how did East do it? They went vertical.
You know, most people are thinking that it'll be the semis before we run across somebody that, you know,
May challenge you.
challenge.
It'll be interesting to see, but I mean, every game's. And the thing about Allen, you hear this over and over again. Everybody's bringing their A game. When it's Allen, they're all going to do that. So you don't know, but you're right. You can't run East West on this team. I'm convinced. I don't know how you feel about it, Matt, but
I hope that we never play in Carroll Stadium because you have to run east-west. That's all I got with that.
Okay, that was good.
that was good. So 54-21, Allen wraps up its 13th straight district crown.
And how many wins? 25, 26 consecutive wins?
In a row, yeah. And what did I hear today or yesterday?
16 and 10.
60. This is if they win this week, it'll be the 6th straight year undefeated in regular season.
Yep, 6 wins. That's
Yeah.
straight. Yep.
So 6 straight
Pretty
undefeated
impressive.
regular seasons, which is
It's no small
pretty
feat,
impressive.
yeah.
You know, I don't care who you are. When you're doing that, you're doing something right. So congratulations to them. All right, this week, real quick, Plano West rolls in town. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, in looks like another rainy game. Should the starters even play?
First series.
First series for sure.
I think they'll play a half.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think they'll play that much.
I think they will. Because you'll get 40, 45 points.
Just to maintain timing, you need to go out and execute, you know.
How hard is it for the coaches to try and keep the kids motivated, knowing what's coming?
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you
I asked
story.
that same question to
Did you?
Gamble.
Okay.
Okay, Matt, talk to us.
Tell us. What do you say?
Basically, it's you're not so much thinking about Plano West and stuff like that. He basically Gamble just ran down, and this is just what you have to do when you're a program that doesn't, play too many bad games. It's the case with any of the state's elite, is that you basically just look for whatever flaws you can, because you're thinking more just big picture stuff.
Yeah.
You're just basically trying to correct as much as you can before games like before the playoffs actually kick in. So Gamble just basically stressed a lot of he basically ran down all the problems that he saw from the Prosper game, which like at the surface,
Penalties?
you won by you can talk about that in a minute. But at the surface, in a game that you won by 33, but still, he's not thinking about what can we do to beat West. He's thinking about we need to sharpen things out so they don't surface when we actually see a team like a Duncanville or like a Judson or North Shore, yeah. Somebody that is going to pose a threat, in terms of their ultimate bottom line, which is winning a state championship. So, and that's the way a lot of these coaches for these powerhouse programs are wired. Because at the surface, 9-0 versus 0-9, a West program that's lost 25 in a row, and the majority of them by at least 20 points. It's rough, but from Allen's standpoint, they're not focusing so much on West. It's simply just trying to basically correct what went wrong against Prosper.
Yeah.
Which David mentioned in the middle of that tirade there.
Because penalties are
penalties.
Because it's an issue now. We can have an actual discussion
And
about this because
it's not just penalties; it's personal fouls.
Types of penalties.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the game against Prosper was a season high in both penalties and penalty yardage accumulated by Allen.
And the first time I can remember a player getting tossed because
Throwing a punch.
He did not throw a punch.
Oh, he did.
What did he do?
He kicked him.
He threw a
And
punch.
he threw a punch.
Well, he
That's
missed
all
on the punch. But I think what got him thrown out was the kick. Because
He
he kicked
him
that kid
first,
right
and
in
when the
stomach.
kid stood up,
And that referee standing right there. But
Yeah, because I was watching that, whatever you call it,
Yeah.
tape delay thing, and what happened is the guy comes flying in. The play is totally over.
Yeah.
He comes flying in, and you see, and there were a bunch of people limping after that one. So
it was discipline.
Yeah.
Self-control.
Yeah, because that's the thing with penalties. So this is now the third time in the last 4 games that Allen has committed at least 9 penalties for at least 100 penalty yards. So it's a thing that's only amplifying as the season goes on, which is kind of the opposite direction that's supposed to be trending, especially as you get towards the playoffs. And it just simply boils down to discipline. And on the one hand, obviously Allen has a system of accountability for it. When we were in the field house afterwards, waiting on for Coach Gamble to wrap up his post game pep talk, he mentioned that if you committed a personal foul tonight, you know who to see Saturday morning.
Yep.
So it's just simply, I don't know if it's a case where because it's one thing because Gamble stressed a lot, it has to resonate with the kids that it hurts the team, and I get on the one hand, again, when you win a game by almost 5 touchdowns, to what extent does it hurt the team? And it's one of those things where I don't know if they need to actually see it bear out and actually have it affect the bottom line and it cost them a situation that puts them at a deficit. And it's just, I don't know, but it's something that definitely worth discussing, just because it just can't become part of their identity when you're going against these teams where they can make you pay for it.
It might not hurt your team on the scoreboard, but you don't want to be known as that team, as dirty or hot-headed, or this is how we can get at Allen, and then it could eventually hurt you on the
because
scoreboard.
teams feed off of that. If teams will look for whatever little mental intangible they can get over you, and for a team like Allen, a team that's with all the Allen mystique and number 1 in the state and all the state titles and whatnot, if they can just get in your head, draw you off sides a little bit, and they can use it to their advantage, then you definitely don't want that to get out there. Just give teams reason to believe that they can get at you, because against a team like Prosper or Plano East, it's there's just not a team in the district or a team on the regular season schedule that's been able to take advantage of that. But there are teams out there that are capable of that, certainly. Sure. Allen has games like that every season. Is even in the Kyler years, as great as they were, there were times when you had to work out of some pretty rocky situations. And that's just
and Plano West has got a little bit of a history of poking the bear. They how a little brother or a little sister can just push your buttons and just whatever. And so Plano West is a team that is not gonna.
In as cliche as it sounds, they got nothing to lose.
They got nothing to lose. And historically, one of the things that they've been called for a lot is simulating snaps.
Disconcerting.
What was that penalty?
Disconcerting signals.
Disconcerting signals.
Yeah, causing intentional confusion.
That's been like 3 or 4 times this year. That's been called.
Yeah, it has been. So
well, we'll see.
Yeah,
we should donate $20 to the charity of our choice for each time Plano West gets ticketed for that. Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that's one of the things they cut down tomorrow night is on penalties, because there's, like I say, a lot of them seem to be unnecessary. And didn't they have a block in the back that brought back a Tisdale touchdown the other night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that one where he went blazing down the sideline.
Yeah, so.
And that hurts.
And I tried to
Tisdale
watch
probably
that
wouldn't
replay
happen.
over and over and over and over.
The guy turned on him and he called it. It should have
Yeah.
been a penalty in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. So, but yeah, Tisdale will probably go back. Come on, guys.
Well, and it's tough. I mean, what do you do other than what you were talking about? You're going to sign in Saturday morning for your penalty. Do you make it something more of okay, we're taking the ice cream machine out of the locker room, or you'd get your Xbox taken away, or just something that affects the whole team so that the team polices themselves?
Yeah, because it's just like when you have to discipline your kids and everybody's different. You have to find out, okay, what discipline method works with your child. I had 2 kids and they were totally different.
Yeah.
You make the whole team do the stairs and do the running.
Peer pressure is big, especially with teenagers.
Yeah. And then somebody's not going to let the team down.
Well, somebody's not going to let somebody get out of hand.
Right.
Like that. So, anyhow, Plano West tomorrow night, 7 o'clock in the rain.
Unless they move it to Friday.
Yeah.
What a great idea that would
They
be.
won't do that. I don't think it's supposed to thunderstorm. All right, so last week, too, just to catch up on district, McKinney beat Jesuit to stay in the playoff race.
Go Lions.
Plano beat Boyd, knocked Boyd out of the Plano.
He's still in line.
Out of the district playoff race. And then East handled West 51-17. So this week, you've got McKinney, Plano, and Plano East playing for the last 2 spots.
Juicy.
Yeah.
So, and the big game is the one you're going to be at tomorrow night, Friday night, Prosper
And Plano.
Yep. Which, if Plano loses, tell me if I'm wrong here, and McKinney wins, then McKinney gets in, and Plano is
Plano. If Plano loses, they cannot be in a tiebreaker that involves just McKinney. Now, there's a scenario where if Jesuit were to pull an upset on East, and it's East, Plano, and McKinney that are all tied, East is actually out on point differential.
Wow.
As bizarre as that would sound.
These were the great contenders.
Yeah, and so McKinney plays Boyd, which I would think that'll be probably a pretty competitive game, but I can see McKinney winning that.
McKinney will win that one.
I think they're expected to, and it's weird because they've lost 9 straight times to McKinney Boyd, and there have been times in recent years, especially where McKinney's come into that game as the perceived better team, but there was just this mental roadblock.
They lost last year with.
Yeah,
was Gaddick playing or was he hurt?
He was. He was. I think he was a little dinged up.
Yeah.
But it was a weird game because I think that McKinney could have gone for the win at the very end.
That's right.
But they decided to. I don't know whether it was to. They could have kicked a field goal, I think, for the win, but they tried going for it
and didn't make it.
Didn't make it, but they were already in the playoffs, so it ultimately didn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because Boyd is like by hook or crook. They've just figured out a way to beat McKinney for almost a decade straight. The question is now how much of the Marcus Shavers factor and just the confidence that team appears to be playing with over the back half of the regular season, and to where it's looked like night and day from early in the season.
I love it.
So wouldn't it be fun to be a fly on the wall for that pep talk and some of that motivation? Yeah. I think Marcus is a pretty good kid motivator, but
if you hear those McKinney players talk, I mean, it really does sound like it's just a confidence thing with them, that they're just going out there now expecting to win these games. As cliche as that might sound, but that's, to a man, that's what they attribute it to, and it's panned out in their performance.
Well, their running back has ended up being one of the better running backs in the area this year too.
Yeah,
he's got over 1,000. Yeah, he's close to 1,000 yards now. When he played Allen, it's a whole different story, but everybody else...
he had some impressive runs. He's not a big kid either.
No, but that'll be an interesting game. Obviously, McKinney needs to win. If they don't win, doesn't matter. Yeah. So, but the Plano Prosper game, I know you did a podcast on it today, and I haven't been able to see it yet, but...
It's a case where, I think both of these teams are pretty similarly built on paper, just as far as teams that really need to feed off the run game in order to generate offense. They're not teams that shouldn't be wanting to throw the ball 25, 30 times a game. Wayne Anderson is, I believe, I don't know if he still is the district's leading rusher, but I know he has been for the majority of the season.
Him or the McKinney kid.
Yeah. But with Plano, just the role that they've gotten on right now and just how they've basically rediscovered their identity ever since that loss to McKinney, I think a lot of it was actually a kid that didn't play against Allen, but as part of that running game, that vaunted running game of Plano's. Everyone knows about Kyron Cumby and just all of the wizardry that he's capable of. Plano is a sophomore that's basically Kyron Cumby just 2 years younger. And his name is Tylen Hines.
Tylen Hines. What number is he?
He is number 25.
Okay.
He is. I believe. I haven't checked to see what is how long the touchdowns were that he scored against Boyd, but I know leading into that game, he had, I want to say, 8 touchdowns on the season, and the average length of a touchdown by Tylen Hines was about 38 yards.
Wow.
So he is
very impressive.
an absolute big play threat, much like Kyron Cumby. So when Plano's run game kind of hit a bit of a wall there mid-season, it kind of coincided with him being injured. And teams just loading it up and just blowing up Cumby and Cody Chris, their backup running back, behind the line of scrimmage. And now that Tylen Hines is healthy, he's being used just as much as Cumby is in the backfield, but it also allows them to put Cumby out as a slot receiver.
Yeah,
and Kyron Cumby
takes the guy out of the box.
I mean, we all know. I mean, Kyron Cumby is he's arguably the best running back in the district. He is just as capable a receiver as he's a running back. He's committed to Illinois.
Okay, all right.
I mean, he can get such easy separation against defensive backs out of the slot, and he is such a weapon converting third and long situations for them. So it's like a case where if they split him out wide, you think, okay, well, he's out there now, ball's probably going to go to him, but you have Tylen Hines now in the back, and it's just kind of pick your poison. Yeah. So it's given them this entirely different dimension to their running game that wasn't there last year. And they've been on fire ever since. Yeah. They beat Plano East, they beat Jesuit, they beat Boyd, all of them by at least 15 points. Yeah. I mean, they're just so hot right now. I can't pick against them.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they'll win 4 playoff games in a row. Well, and then that'll end.
Hey, they almost beat Trinity last year.
Yeah, they're pesky. Yeah. And then the draw sets up to where, because I don't think Plano's won a playoff game since either 2009 or 2010. It's been a while. Mm. But this is, again, they will get, assuming it's them, and if East somehow misses the playoffs, then Plano will go up to Division I, and they will draw the Rowlett-Saxe winner. But if East makes it, then Plano's going to be D2 if they make it. That is, and that would put them against either Wiley or Naaman Forest, either game, which is you'd say it's winnable. It's winnable on paper for them. I'd say at least against Naaman Forest. Wiley, for whatever reason, has beat them 2 years in a row.
I watched a little bit of Wiley highlights today. They've actually got a pretty good quarterback and pretty good quarterback. I'll just say that this year.
Rashad Dixon,
yeah, he seemed to be pretty good.
He was the kid last year for them, and he kind of came out of nowhere last season because there was the big offseason talk was that a kid from Bishop Dunn named Stacy Connor, who was committed to UNLV, he wound up transferring over to Wiley and started off the year as their starter, and then just got overtaken by Rashad Dixon mid-season.
Wow.
And look back. I mean, they didn't. They only won 3 games last season, but they've held up pretty well in that. In that Garland ISD district. Say what you will about the district, but they did score. They're the only team to beat Rowlett to this point in the season.
Yeah, they did beat Rowlett. So that'll be interesting Friday night. Something to pay attention to see who ends up being the 3rd and 4th representatives, because Prosper's in and Allen's in. So
and Plano East Jesuit, that game probably looked a little bit better, more enticing at the start of the season.
Yeah. I think all the games with Jesuit looked more enticing at the start of the season. I don't know what happened to those guys.
They just didn't have when you think of Jesuit and just their identity, they're always near the top of the area in passing. And they DJ Smith, but they weren't able to really generate the kind of punch offensively through the air that they've had in years past, and just put a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah, their offensive line was really big, but
they were
no technique for the most part.
And I give them this: they had the best looking uniforms in the district, man. Those things,
gold and sharp.
Those was awesome.
Old gold helmet.
That's right, man. I'm throwing down a little Notre Dame look there.
And they've got media guides that they give to the reporters in the press box. I mean, they treat it like a college program.
Yeah, really.
With the way that they take care of the
what they say, Daddy's
sports
money.
information.
Daddy's money.
Well, and as big as homers as we are with Allen, I hope everybody knows that. Once the playoffs start, we always are rooting for everybody.
Yeah,
from our district, big time. Yeah.
Sure.
Makes the district look better.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
even Plano, even Plano, back in Burkhead's days, they would always play at Texas Stadium with us. And you always wanted them to win.
Yeah.
Stronger Plano teams make it better for all of us.
Well, they do, and you wish again. It looks like East maybe has turned a corner there a little bit. They always seem to have pretty good talent, but they're winning this year, you know. And yeah, they hit a little lull there with back-to-back. Was it back-to-back Plano? Yeah,
Plano and then
Allen and then Plano. Yeah,
and then
they played.
They almost lost to McKinney in overtime. 45-42, and they just haven't looked like themselves defensively at least since the Allen game.
Well, and district-wise, you kind of don't know where 9-6A fits in with the whole rest of the state and the Metroplex. What do you see? What do you think? Because they talk about the District of Doom.
Yeah, well, it's not bad.
Cedar Hill and
that district is that's a scary district. I think the perception is just that it's Allen. It's just Allen, and when Allen wins
but beyond Allen, if you take the 4 playoff teams, how are they going to do? Because back when we were saying, 8-6A or whatever district we were in, they're saying, it's the toughest district, and then they're all out in the first or second round.
Used to be.
There's a lot of
so we'd catch a lot of.
There's a lot of, beyond Allen, there was always a lot of parity in the district. Like, there was never just a game like, unfortunately, Plano West is in a bit of a rough patch right now, and they've kind of become that game. But, in years past, it really didn't matter. Like, there was no perceived layup in that district. So even though Allen was guaranteed to roll over everybody, essentially, you knew that, teams 2 through 8, like, anything could happen between them. And that's, I think, where it makes up for some of the other districts, which might be really top-heavy, might feature a lot of teams that are, your top 3-4, just a great 3 and 4, but then your bottom 4, there's a lot of drop-off there. But as far as this present district, just the fact that no one's really been able to, give Allen much of a test. You'll have games in years past, like that Plano East game in 2016, where they snuck up on him and gave him a scare in the fourth quarter, and then that Marcus team that same year gave him that was a solid game. I think it was just like a 10-point game ultimately, but there just aren't enough challenges like there. And then once the playoffs start, maybe being in Region 2 will be kind of a cure-all for that, because Region 1 is a bit of a gauntlet. But
it's going to be a nice change being in Region 2 and seeing some different playoff teams.
Yeah, I think all 4 playoff teams out of 9-6A are capable of getting out of the first round.
I was about to say that exact same thing. When you mentioned who the 10-6A teams are that are going to be there, I don't see any reason why they couldn't win all 4.
Yeah.
Which would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
And
it'll be like that in a lot of sports, not just football. It already has been like that in volleyball. You had all 3 teams from 9-6A make it to the third round. So.
Yeah, and Allen, who was a perennial power last year, and I guess they graduated a ton of girls off their volleyball team.
They were really injured this year. It was just
really bad.
Just a transition year for them.
But the district is so strong, that can happen.
They still have talent there, but it's just a lot of freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah. So
did Jesuit post a good girls volleyball team?
It's called Ursula.
Yes, they play football also, Thad.
Yeah. The next thing I had on my list, and I wanted, and I don't know how much you look at this, and I'm sure you do, at least back in your mind, but I know you did more in the present, but we're coming to playoffs will start next week, and when we look at the state overall in 6A, state prediction, I know Tepper
Here's
said.
what I found on the
Hello.
Hello.
Tepper said last week on Fox Sports Southwest that that he didn't see anybody out there that could beat Allen. And that's the first for him, because they've been sort of quiet all year.
Very.
Just letting Allen do their things. In fact, a lot of times there weren't even Allen highlights on that show, which these guys stay. I go to bed. These guys stay up and watch it. And it was like at a minute 39 out of 2 hours or an hour 39. But he came out and said it. And I think we got their attention.
They all agreed
after the Plano East game, and then they started paying more attention. And then last week, because they thought Prosper would give him, and he said he didn't see it. So, what do you see, or what's your view of the state landscape?
It's weird for me because I tend to kind of focus on the matchups once they happen.
Yeah.
Like, just because I've just got so much.
So we're going to get you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, no, it'd be weird because last year with Lake Travis, I first started paying attention to Lake Travis once I heard they were going to beat Katy. I'm like, oh wow, I guess I got to start learning about Lake Travis now. So you're telling
me
very much as a to pull a page out of the Sports Cliche Index. It's pretty much one game at a time.
Yep.
One game at a time, one play at a time. But as far as the overall state goes, it is a shame that Longview is going to be in Division 2 because they're number 4 ranked in the state, and that's at least in the present probably would have been the most intriguing matchup in Region 2. For Allen, I guess I'm not even sure who the next best team in Division 1 would be out of Region 2 if Cy Ranch is going to be in Division 1 or not. But nevertheless, I think Allen should get to at the very least the state semifinals, and then it's just a question of do they draw Duncanville? I know that was the matchup that everybody wanted last year, and then Trinity.
No, we didn't.
Is Duncanville Region 1?
Yeah. They are. They're Region 1. Yeah, they're in a
so
district.
That'll be the semifinal.
Could be.
Yeah.
If it all,
If Reggie holds it all
if it
together.
all,
Because I mean, Trinity snuck up on him last year, and
Wouldn't that
just
be something?
ruin on everybody's ruin everybody's parade. But I mean, that would be, I think and then once you get to those Final Four, like once it's like if it's Duncanville and Allen and North Shore and Judson, then
Wow.
I just think all bets are off
Yeah.
at that point.
No kidding.
true.
That could
And
be.
that's just one of the cases where, again, like there's really not a whole, like there's not a, because I don't think there's ever been a year where just like Allen was just head and shoulders over the rest of the field, because there always has been a team that was able to press them. Like last year, I mean, Lake Travis gave them,
13.
especially considering that Lake Travis lost its quarterback on the first play of the game.
Well,
I mean,
that was a special circumstance, and the game that Lake Travis plays offensively,
Yeah.
I think would be different than a North Shore. North Shore is a run it down
Oh,
yeah.
type of team.
Very
Whereas Judson,
physical.
what are some of those other
Judson
teams?
will be
Are
a
they-
physical
Yeah, that's
matchup.
yeah, I don't know a whole lot. I know Judson had to. I mean, I think he's graduated. Their quarterback last
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
who was
he
one of the
was.
top dual threat
I
guys in the
think that
state.
type of game plays to Allen's strength, though.
It does, really.
If you get a vertical team that can really stretch the field, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, because
could be very
that's
tough.
always the thing with Allen, is because the districts that they're in are so run heavy. Like they've got some of the best running backs in the area year in year out. The Allen district, and just not a whole lot of teams like this Plano East team that are willing to take shots on them. So it was almost like heading into the state title game, I had no clue how the hell Allen was going to fare, just because they hadn't seen a team that was willing to throw on them like that.
We didn't either.
Yeah, it's just a massive question mark. And like in the playoffs, just like they didn't draw anybody in the playoffs that did that either. Just so many run teams.
Well, and that's when you look at the potential matchups, that's what you've got all the way down. And the only team that really, Westlake's going to go Division II probably. So that's going to be out. And so you look at it comes down to Lake Travis.
Yeah.
I mean, if Katy makes it, I'm going to say that Katie's a run first team, and if you stop the run, anytime I go back to, if you take something away from a team, they've got to find a way that's probably not their strength to try to beat an Allen
come
team
back.
that's really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a combination of us stopping the run early and scoring early. It really it doubles you down, because now if you do go back to pass, Kane dials up the blitz.
Yeah.
And historically, that's never been good for anybody.
No, I mean, you talked about teams from the past. The DeSoto teams of 12, 13, and 14 was really the team that I feared
Oh,
out of everybody they played.
Every year.
Because when you got to the championship game, you're like, meh.
Oh yeah, the state title games
Yeah,
were.
it's like, meh.
I mean, that was your state semifinal.
Pearland
games
has only
essentially.
given up, 45 points all year.
Put 63 on it.
Hello. Welcome to Allen,
It was those games against DeSoto, and then the state semifinal against Skyline that year, where they were down 18 at one point in the second half before Kyler just went super scion on everybody. And
what was the
Great
interview
game
that
that
Claude
was.
Mathis did when they were talking about Kyler and him now in the college days? He was like, "Yeah, if it weren't for Kyler Murray and Allen, I'd have had 3 state championships."
said that.
Poor Claude.
But yeah, so I guess you foresee them getting at least state semifinal.
They should. Oh yeah. I mean, listen, it's there for them. It's there for the taking. They have the talent. They have the mental fortitude. They have the experience. It's just like I say, it's for every single team that goes on a playoff run. In order to win a championship, regardless of whether it's high school, college, pro, you've got to stay healthy. And you know what? Along the way, you got to get a little bit lucky with matchups. There's always going to be just a little bit of luck involved for any team that wins a state title. Like I said, Kyler was magic. I mean, that DeSoto game in 2013. So much luck involved.
Yeah, the punt, the fumble in the end
and that's the
zone,
thing.
yeah.
You take it. Yeah, you take it. Yeah, because that's how it
heave
goes.
across
Was that
For
the
a
one in Cowboy
2-point
Stadium?
conversion.
No,
Where the
not 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah,
42-38, yeah.
Memorial.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, just the things like I'm sure, Allen didn't draw up anticipating that punt was going to come down and bounce off the DeSoto player. And
I don't want to say it was
alive.
divine intervention, but it was divine intervention.
Reggie just needs to get that Skyline goat off his back. Because
Well,
that's
he's
going to
got
be
a
right
good
there.
team at Duncanville, but they've given up, 35 points
They
or
are,
something
but
this year.
that's
but who
not-
they-
that's not
who
the-
they really
that
play.
district is not
not the
exactly.
same.
You go to the same
just
thing.
breeding
Not
of
the gauntlet,
heavyweights.
Yeah, it's different, and that's why I look forward to Duncanville getting in the playoffs, where they start playing some teams that are a better quality, and you can sort of start gauging them better.
Right.
Where I think with Allen, because of the history, you know what you got with Allen. Now, it's a different cast of characters every year, but it's pretty much going to be.
So do you think Southlake is guaranteed to go D2?
Oh, actually, I don't know. I don't know what their situation is
Maybe
like.
we should look into that. I don't know. Potential.
On Scoreboard Live, they went through a scenario where they might go up, but I can't remember
It was
I'm not
a,
good
it
with
was a
math.
long shot.
They'd be in Region 2 or 1 though. So.
Yeah. Well, that'd be a
With
team
Raleigh
that,
Dodge.
you'd probably see them in
Semifinal.
Duncanville.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah. Either way.
Still-
Well, it'll be interesting to watch, and we'll know more after Friday night.
Playoffs.
Playoffs. Yeah.
I've been working on that all
And he
week.
said Allen's going to play the loser of Saxe.
Yeah,
and
the
Rowlett.
joke is that the Rowlett-Saxe game is the Avoid Allen Bowl.
Isn't that crazy? Now you did a
Wow.
podcast on that. Did y'all talk about
We did
that?
it just today. Yep,
Yeah.
they went out to
The
Saxe,
Avoid
talked to one of their
Allen
stud
Is that gonna-
linebackers.
All right.
Is that gonna
What's
be
your
the
thoughts on
headline?
that?
You take it. No, you take it. You take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both teams have been kind of like Saxe's just been so weird this year to get a feel for because they've had such inconsistency at quarterback. I mean, just because of like nicks and bruises here and there, guys that have been injured and whatnot. But they've played 4 different quarterbacks throughout the season, including 3 during non-district.
Because of injuries?
Yeah.
Or
Part of it
performance?
was it's a combination. Yeah, it's a combination. But they were able to finally find a guy who they actually converted one of their wide receivers, Derek Rose, to to quarterback, and they had some success with him. And then he got hurt, a couple weeks ago against. He's kind of iffy for the game against Rowlett. It does sound like though he'll be able to play in the playoffs, so he's at least added some. More of the dual threat element that they had last year with Jalen Maiden.
Right.
I mean, both defenses are really solid. Rowlett especially has been a kind of a surprise on that side of the ball. They have a lot of their secondary was expected to be pretty solid coming in, and they've held up their end. But just the speed that they have up front was it's been a pleasant surprise for them. I believe they've only I think both teams have allowed less than 160 points per game this season. So they've done fine. I mean, I got to see Saxe against Plano East.
Yeah.
And it was a weird game just because it was in the rain.
Yep.
But they Plano East kind of wore Saxe down in the second half. I believe they won like 29-17, but this was like a 7-7 ball game, early in the third quarter. And then Saxe just had a quarterback got hurt. Then they committed a couple turnovers, and just like that, it was they
Snowballed on them.
Yeah, it was just they scored three times in like the span of like 5 minutes. So, but I think that Saxe wins that game, just because I don't know.
Because you picked him.
Huh? I did, but I'm trying to think of like
Trying to remember why.
because there's so much inconsistency just across. Like Rowlett just had a weird loss to Wiley a couple weeks ago, where I mean, as great as they've been all season,
28 to like 42 or something like that.
yeah, and like Rowlett's really the only time that a team has punched them in the mouth, whereas Saxe's been a bit more battle tested. They did play a heck of a non-district schedule with Capel, Trinity, Plano East. They played a schedule befitting of a team coming
When
off
they played
its best season
Plano,
ever.
and that was like 24-17. And
That was Rowlett.
Yeah, Rowlett.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
not Saxe, but yeah.
Yeah, and Rowlett beat Plano, and that was like kind of the first time that anybody could solve Plano's run game, which was impressive at the time. But I think that Saxe's just a bit more battle tested, and I mean their defense is very, very scary.
Yeah. Well, a couple of us plan on going over there, so we'll check it out. So he picked Saxe, so we'll keep that in mind. So
Which means that you'll get
So which side do we
Allen and
sit on?
Rowlett, which I'm sure no one will mention the game 11 years ago. leading up to
There
that
will be
one.
no hype about that at all.
that was.
I wonder if I have a 2007 Allen shirt I can wear.
Jeez.
It's the one with all the
What
tear
was
stains on it.
Dexter Amati? What was?
Oh, they had such a great game plan, and he tore us up.
Yeah,
Just
Amati.
tore us
Wasn't
up.
Amati his last name?
All I know is they blitzed on every play on defense also, and
So painful.
Matt Brown was running for his life.
Yeah, it was a tough day, but
He was.
the Eagles get that game. The Allen Eagles get that game at home
Yeah.
because Rowlett's the Eagles too. So again,
Those games are always the worst to write. I can't. You'd have to strain myself. I
Yeah.
can't type the word Eagles
Yeah.
because no one's gonna have a clue what team it's referring to.
But that'll
Yeah.
be a.
Campbell will have them ready.
No, yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, that does it for football. I had something else I want to write down here because I know basketball is your favorite sport.
It is.
You and I have talked. I asked him once, what was your favorite sport to cover, and it's basketball. And so, basketball season is about to start.
Mm-hmm.
You have, unbelievably, what you can call them now, the returning state champion Allen Eagles basketball team.
Wow.
Which if
Under
that
new
wasn't
head
the
coach.
most, I don't know, unexpected result from a team ever from an Allen team, anyways.
Imagine yourself up in McKinney when them getting the beat out of them, and if somebody were to lean over to the other one and say, "This team could go to state and win it."
Yeah.
Yeah, like that we didn't.
Not only that, they're going to beat the
about.
top 2 teams in the state on their way.
Yeah. So now we have a lot of those guys are gone. It's a new district too, and
Yes.
so I don't know if you've put any thought into basketball yet or not. Or
I'm
what
starting
your
to, because now that
on the district.
Now that last Tuesday, that's probably the last time I'll be covering volleyball for this season. There might be maybe something next week for the state tournament, but I don't foresee it right now. So I'm shifting into basketball mode now for my Tuesday nights. With Allen, it's a kind of like you alluded to. It's a big old question mark right now because they graduated. They basically ran like an 8-player rotation last season, and 6 of those guys are gone, including 4 starters. The only starter back is Isaiah Stevens, who's still a great player, committed to Colorado State, one of the on the short list of the best pure shooters in the Metroplex. Yeah. A kid that's been lighting it up since his sophomore year. But at the same time, like what made last year's Allen team so special that they were able to really kind of conjure during the playoffs was just how versatile they were. They could really play any style of basketball because it was such a non-traditional team in terms of just the physical structure of that team, because they didn't have a 6'10" guy or a traditional post player. They didn't have a traditional center by that means. It was just a bunch of guys who were anywhere from 6'4" to 6'7" that could play multiple positions, and all of them could handle the ball well, and they were just selfless, and they could all shoot. All 5 on the court could shoot threes. It was a team that's very resemblant of like a modern day NBA team when you look at kind of the direction the NBA is trending. And
like the coaches said when they did it, we could switch on anybody and nobody could switch on us. He said because we'd end up with a matchup that we wanted every time, just about.
They would do such a great job. Kind of if there was another team because sure enough they played teams that had a lot of size, like Geyer, like Westlake, and they just did such a great job of isolating those mismatches and just beating them.
They would pull them out.
Beating them to the basket. And
well, it seems like this year's team may be similar. I mean, we don't have a premier, center type player this year. And
the thing with this team is, it's at least looking over the roster, it's really young.
Yeah,
there's a lot of kids. Ironically enough, I was looking the Green Twins from the football team. They're on the roster this year. KJ Willie, another football player, is. So it's basically the only true experience there is Isaiah Stevens, and then their 6th man last year, Corey Jones, who was a nice little scoring punch off.
Well, and Manny Obeski will.
Manny Obaseki, who had
I like Obeski better.
Gesundheit.
I can call him Biscuit.
I'm actually kind of excited to see what he does this season, just because he had just little flashes of brilliance last year. He didn't play the entire season on varsity. I think they sent him down to JV again just a few more.
Get some time.
Get more time, but he is such an athlete.
He's a good friend with Allen's son.
He's like
one of the nicest kids you ever meet.
Or something. He's just kind of. He takes contact to the hoop, very well, and it can adjust his shot. He does take it to the hole a lot.
The talent is definitely there when you see him play. Even as a freshman, you were seeing that he's well beyond the level that most freshman high school basketball players are at. It's just kind of putting it all together and just being a bit more consistent and smarter with the decision making.
Yeah, and in the brief conversation I had with one of the coaches a week and a half ago, he said we're going to have to outscore a lot of people initially because like he said, last year we didn't know what we had, and Donovan Parham was 8th or 9th down on the bench, and all of a sudden Donovan's our first guy off the bench because he plays defense out of this world. And I still remember him guarding 6'8", 6'9" people and just being tenacious.
All up on him, drawing charges and just agitating.
Frustrating the heck out of him.
This is crazy, but it worked. And and he says we don't know who that person. Because to me, and I know it happened. I saw it on Twitter this week. Jalen Scott was an absolute beast of a defender.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. And he was
the unsung hero of that team, and I made sure to give him as much praise because I go to as many games as I went to, and you could clearly see just how impactful he is, despite not scoring 15, 20 points a night. Just how he
did the dirty work.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
And it'll be interesting to see who on that team steps up this year to be those people.
Yeah, because it's tough because that team had a lot of experience coming back last season, so the talent might be there. It just might this might be more kind of a transition year, which stinks for Stevens and all that, just being a senior year and all. But
which segues into who's the district favorite
right now? If you're just going strictly off of what preseason polls say, it's Allen. TABC thinks Allen's good, not only boys and girls. They think that they're the district favorites in both.
Girls will be better than the boys. Those girls, that girls team is loaded.
Yeah, keep an eye on that girls team this year.
That's nice. Hoop it up night and have the girls play the guys.
Yeah. Have y'all seen her play? She was at Allen, and where'd she?
She was at Allen as a freshman, then went to Bishop Lynch for 2 years.
Yeah, and she's back now. She's
and by virtue
committed to Louisville.
Yeah, she's like in the top 5.
Yeah, she's a 5-star prospect.
And She is
no relation.
bad, boy.
Like I got to see by virtue of covering Prestonwood Christian for our Plano paper. I mean, I would occasionally cover Prestonwood versus Bishop Lynch, and yeah, she's an impressive player. I mean, I saw a game where, and I don't know if if I'm trying to think back to when she was a freshman, I don't recall her having like a real like proven outside shot. In one of the games I saw against Prestonwood, she hit 5 threes in the first half, and was just lights out. And that's probably a bit of an aberration, but her real strength is her size and her court vision. She's a real good floor general.
And they beat Cedar Hill last week.
They beat Cedar Hill. They did lose one to DeSoto last night.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know if that was the girls.
Any possibility of moving her up to varsity?
Like on the north side.
If we can have somebody wrestling, we can have a point guard, couldn't we?
Oh boy!
You know what I'm saying?
Here we go.
Geyer ought to have a pretty decent team coming back.
They will, but they're not in the district anymore. So
all right.
But Allen does play Geyer.
Jesuit will be good.
Jesuit will be good. Yeah, Jesuits I think is predicted to finish
Those
second.
guys
solid.
can always shoot.
Kings of the
And you
three-pointer.
wouldn't think that they could get a rebound for anything, but they play block out, good, hard, fundamental basketball.
Well, they won't be yelling, "Let's play football this year."
I hear we're going to have
Been
a
there,
grudge.
done that.
We're going to have a
That's the
grudge
response.
match against McKinney too.
They're getting back. Yeah, Jesuit. They're a little low on experience too. They do return their leading scorer, but they're getting back this post player who's a D1 prospect named Julius Marble. He missed most of last season with the season ending. I want to say it's like a knee or leg or something injury, but he'll be back, and he's probably on paper at least right now the best post player in the district. But
we got an impromptu basketball preview. Didn't we?
I can talk
that
hoops as
down,
long
'cause
as
I
you'll
knew
need.
he would, and I knew he'd know. You know,
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
Geyer
knows.
obviously
Wind
will
me
be the
up.
team to beat in the state. Probably.
They have this is
Yeah.
It's wild to think that they're now in year 4 of the Davion Harmon, Jalen Wilson, Super Friends deal, and
And I know Wilson's going to Michigan.
Wilson's going to Michigan. Harmon is, I believe, he's still OU.
Oh, is he?
He's still
Yeah,
OU.
when he made the under 18 Olympic team,
Yeah.
so Davion Harmon,
The point guard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
And they've still got he's now a junior, but Jacoby Coles was their other big dude
big
last year.
guy.
Grayson Carter's graduated, so
and they got our
do
buddy
this.
Coach Long, man.
Their
Yeah.
coach I was just going to say, their coach loves us.
He does, man.
He's going to implement that holding the ball thing. Like,
Now Allen plays at Geyer late in November, it's right after Thanksgiving, the week after Thanksgiving, I think on a Tuesday night.
That might be a tough one.
May have
Oh
to
yeah,
make that
and
trip.
they know it, and like Coach McCullough rides his bike out here in front of the house, and I've seen him a couple times, and he said, "Yeah, I thanked my brother for scheduling that and then quitting." It's like,
That's why he quit.
yeah, he said, but
Go out while you're on top.
It'll be tough,
little
but,
brother.
I'm done.
it tells you, it'll tell you a lot about the team. Who's going to step up and play, and because I know last year when they played them at Geyer, it was late in the season. They didn't tip their hand. They kind of just let that game get away from them. Yeah. They wanted to win, but they. And I don't know if you listened to the pod. We had the coaches out here after the state championship. You ought to go back and listen to it. It's really entertaining.
It was no
Some
coach
good insight.
at all.
No,
It was straight up good stuff.
Yeah, it's a good podcast to listen to because they were open and we even called them out on the McKinney game. All right, we're cruising along, and then you go to McKinney and they just talk. We have to talk about this. Yeah, you do. But that was one of the things they said was we didn't want to tip our hand because they had started thinking about. How can we beat this team? And they knew it wasn't playing
Yeah,
Up and
normal-
down.
because no team in the state could run with Geyer.
No.
They've too many athletes.
And so
They're
when
too-
they went up there, they kind of just let it all go, and they didn't tip their hand about what they thought. We might meet this team in 6 games,
Yeah.
and it worked out. For
and that
them.
was such
It
an
was just
intangible for
really
them.
good.
And McCullough was such a game changer.
Mad scientist.
I
man.
sat there and I was going, "What are they doing?"
Yeah.
You know.
Well, especially when they got down 5-0, and they
Yeah.
couldn't do anything, and you're like, "This ain't gonna work."
That's the thing, yeah. When you start stalling, I mean, you can really only do it for so long before
Yeah.
the game gets out of hand. If it doesn't
Yeah.
work, then. But yeah, I mean, the fact that that's the first time that team has ever played like that, to pull something like that out against with the stakes being what they were,
Yeah.
to
It
execute
was-
it the way that they did, it
It's
was.
just it's
Unbelievable.
really cool hearing them tell the story of how that kind of came about.
Yeah.
And, when they broke it to the players, okay, we're going to do this. You buying in?
They were all for it, so it's great. It's a good podcast and a good listen. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the basketball is. And are the Allen girls? Well, Plano's got a good.
Plano lost a lot of the starters from last year's team. They do have two back, Jordan Merritt and Zaria Collins. And they're awesome players, but they're just a little low on experience elsewhere throughout the roster. So it's Yeah, I mean, it's Allen right now is a justified favorite in that district. Elsewhere, I mean, because that district is like pound for pound, there might not be a single sport that's more star power heavy than girls basketball in 968 because you got 4 girls that are 5-star prospects.
Wow.
Yeah, not just Nia Green and Jordan Merritt, but Jordan Oliver, the Prosper girl, Jade Owens, Plano West point guard. I mean, and then the girl who won district
Take
MVP
that,
last
south
year.
of Dallas.
Yeah, so we may have to go watch some girls basketball. Watch some of those perfect layups.
Heck yeah.
What?
Fundamental layups.
That's right.
Yes.
Driving down the 3.
I mean, if you want fundamentals, and before we get out of here, I got one thing I want to say about quarterbacks and get a little bit of input from you. But
Go.
yeah, so looking at quarterbacks, and I've been watching kind of the stats, doing a little bit of the quarterback ratings, and Grant, if you notice, so he's at like 71.6% completion rate.
Yeah.
For Allen quarterbacks, that's almost unheard of. Even with Kyler, he wasn't necessarily in the 70s, but looking at all the other quarterbacks in the region or the area right here, nobody else is in the 70s.
Yeah.
And so, maybe we take it for granted a little bit, but he's the top performing. He's the top performing quarterback.
You take away the little jet flip, and he's like 30. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That was one of my pet peeves about football.
Hey.
That counts as a pass.
Yes.
Maybe it shouldn't count as a pass, but I was wondering. So the Longview quarterback King.
Okay.
Do you know what happened to him?
I do not know.
It's all of a sudden his
If we had our Mesquite guy here, Devin Hassan, he follows that district because he's got his Mesquite schools in there. But no, I've
that's
not.
the coach's son, right? John King's
Yeah,
son.
and I saw some of his stats just stop, and then another quarterback picked up, and I figured maybe he was injured, whatever. But just curious. But just kind of wanted to give Grant a little bit of props there because looking at all the quarterback stats and running through the QB ratings, it was impressive.
We've been talking this week amongst ourselves, kind of about I don't know what term I want to use. Let's use the word beauty of Allen football and how it's changed and our perception of it. And we're at a point now where for a lot of us, and football has really changed. I mean, you watch it. The NFL even, and then college, it's all open, widespread, boom, throw the ball, let's go. And Allen's is kind of a little more old school. When you look, and I was looking at the Dallas Morning News stats today, and I'm not sure, at least in the area, Allen probably leads the area in rushing yards.
Yep. As of this past week, they're now number one.
They're now number 1 in rushing yards. Yep. And they're the number 2 offense. And you're like, okay, this has really jumped up in the last couple of weeks because the first of the year they weren't there, but they're now number 2. And so it's not, his dad says, well, it ain't real sexy. And I said, well,
it doesn't have to be.
Wins a win.
There is something sexy about running over people.
It may not be sexy, but the results are very attractive.
Yes.
And that's what we've got is we've got it for football as it stands right now. It's not running, well, it is run, but it's not gunning, and it's not throwing the ball over the field. But it's very effective in what they're doing,
and it's efficient. And that's like that gets at the heart of Grant Tisdale's game.
And if we get rid of all the penalties, these games would be much shorter too, because of the fact they won the ball.
Yeah, I have to work Friday.
Yeah, we
all got to work Friday.
We even moved the games up 30 minutes, and it's still lasting just as long.
The second quarter was 2.5 hours, I think.
Well, and for our offense, you mentioned old school. We're out Planoing Plano. That 1964 run.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but it's
next thing you know, our quarterback will be wearing a number 20 something.
That's a good one.
Brad Leland will be there for sure.
Yeah, but we tend to lose sight of what's happening because every Friday night we go home and guess what? We're happy because Allen won, and you're like, thank you that we're not I'm not even going to throw any names out there. We're not somebody else, who's on a 26 game losing streak or whatever. I mean, just think how hard that would be to be an eager Beaver fan.
Well, Darren said it in the Allen Trinity playoff game last year. He said, this isn't the Allen of old. He said, they run the ball, they play good defense, which travels well, plays good in bad weather, and all those things that, you're going to be able to bank on, and then if you have to pass, they would be. It's not like they can't.
No, they
just choose.
He just gave you the stats. They're very efficient when they do it. And the best thing I love about the Allen teams the last 2 years is they don't turn the ball over much.
Yep.
Grant's got, what, 3
No
interceptions?
passes, 3 interceptions.
And that one last week wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
That should have been pass interference.
all day long.
He got mugged.
Drilled.
Yeah.
But, and that's, when you don't turn the ball over, you play good defense, and you're able to run the ball, you're going to win. And again, it isn't, top model Tyra Banks sexy, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've only got 1,500 and something yards passing, so it's not like Mallory, who's got in the 2,600s.
Yeah. It's a different beast.
But it's efficient.
It's worked for Katie
It's
for
lovely.
years.
We're on par with what we had passing last year because Grant had 2,000 going into the state championship game.
Yeah.
He had 2,000 yards passing. And so I know some of those stats, yardage belong to Raylan. But we're in that, comparable amount of yards that we get passing as we did last year.
Yeah.
And it's always tough to gauge, just like Allen regular season stats period, because the starters only play 2.5 quarters.
Right.
A game.
Yeah. You can just imagine what they'd be if they didn't, But these backups, the rotation guys.
Rotation.
Yeah, however, units.
You call it
however
whatever
you want to call it.
The unit.
There's some depth
There's
there, too.
not much drop off.
So
That's for sure.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
you're right, and thank God that they do play so well to where everybody can get in the game.
Yeah.
That just makes the whole team better.
I listened to Gamble's thing today. They've got 56 seniors graduating, or tomorrow will be their last regular season game. They honor seniors tomorrow night, and congrats to those 56 that hung in there. There's a lot of those are starters, not all of them, and the ones that aren't, that have hung around the program to stick around and play. Yeah. They get their opportunities, which is great for them, and it's it teaches a lot about, like Gamble said, it teaches a lot about life, being part of a team. You're not always going to be the superstar, and that's all of us can say that. We work for a living. We know we're not top dogs in everything we do. Well, he might be because he's the sports editor, but he has a boss.
Hey,
So,
somebody's got to be the
I got
boss.
plenty of people I have to report to.
yeah, so it's.
I bet I'm the best podcaster out of all my coworkers.
You're probably the only podcaster.
Hey,
Hey,
we
don't-
didn't have to
don't
say that
sully it.
part.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, man. Alan has a public service announcement.
Okay.
Spit it out.
Last night was election night, and thank goodness all that's over. So the politics is over. But there's something I want to ask of all of you here. If you can write your congressman and please ask them to create whatever kind of legislation
Sean.
that it'll take, but we need to outlaw shredded cheese.
Shredded cheese.
Shredded cheese.
Yeah.
And why is
would
that?
we outlaw shredded
Because
My
we
wife loves shredded cheese.
Well, I know, but see, and this is the passion that I have for this: is we need to make America great again.
And that's the only way to do it.
And that's the only way to do it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought you were going to have them outlaw text messaging on the behalf of candidates. That's been
Boy, would that not be wonderful?
Oh my gosh!
Public service announcement from Senior Alan Wright.
Make sure you write your congressman, whoever the new person is.
I think we need to get some blue Allen hats that say "Make Allen Great" GRATE again.
That'd be awesome.
Or ALLAN.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, Matt, thank you again.
Yes,
Should've
it
got
was
it back
awesome
the second
having
time.
you. Enjoyed it.
Let's not
Hey,
make it.
is the timer
We're
still
all good.
All
yeah.
right.
Let's
Yeah,
not
we're
wait 38
checking.
more episodes.
Yeah,
to do a
let's
second
not.
time.
I
We'll,
feel like doing this before the game tomorrow.
Maybe when we get deeper in the playoffs and you have more time to look at who Allen's going to be playing, we'll bring you back in. Focus on that one game at a time, and we'll do that. Until then, we'll see you around basketball and wherever you're around.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
You bet.
Well,
Thank you, Matt.
No,
I'm
appreciate
good.
it.
All
Thanks
right,
for
guys.
coming.
Until next time, it's over, and we're